You open your eyes for the very first time, and congratulations, you're a citizen of Super Earth, the greatest bastion of managed democracy the galaxy has ever seen. Managed democracy is just like regular democracy, except with all the messy democracy parts managed away for your convenience. Your first breath is in a birth center somewhere in Neo-Tokyo sector, and before you've even figured out how your lungs work, propaganda screens above your incubation pod are already teaching you the Super Earth anthem. Multitasking starts early here. Super Earth is humanity's crowning achievement, a unified planetary government that emerged after the First Galactic War when humanity was suffering from what the educational videos call complete democratic anarchy. See, back then, people had too many choices and didn't know what to think. There was no source of truth, no clear direction, and citizens were confused by all those complicated decisions about who to vote for and what politics to support. But then humanity discovered managed democracy, and you're taught from day one that this beautiful system lets people be truly free by removing all that pesky uncertainty. Super Earth's governed by the Ministry of Truth, the Ministry of Defense, the Ministry of Expansion, and the Ministry of Science, all working in perfect harmony to spread liberty and democracy to every corner of the galaxy. How do they spread liberty? By identifying planets that don't have liberty yet and liberating them whether they want it or not. How generous. When you're old enough to understand voting, they explain managed democracy in terms you can appreciate. You still get to vote on important matters, but here's the brilliant part. A computer algorithm removes all the confusion. The algorithm analyzes your preferences, your history, your psychological profile, and figures out who you truly want to vote for, even if you didn't know it yourself. It's like having a helpful friend who knows you better than you know yourself. Except the friend is a government supercomputer, and disagreeing with its conclusions about your preferences is treason. The system liberates you from the burden of choice. You're told some people call this, "we're deciding your votes for you," but that's such a cynical way to look at it. The algorithm is helping you express your true democratic will. You're welcome. Your childhood's pretty standard by Super Earth metrics. You attend a state educational facility where you learn important subjects like mathematics, literacy, approved history, and why Super Earth is humanity's only hope against the alien menace. Pop quizzes include questions like true or false, questioning Super Earth's galactic expansion is treason, and essay question, describe in 500 words why dying for democracy is the highest honor a citizen can achieve. You get gold stars for correct answers and concerning visits from ministry officials for incorrect ones. Fun times. By the time you're 16, you've absorbed approximately 47,000 hours of pro-Super Earth media, attended 300 mandatory patriotic rallies, and can recite the sacred oath of loyalty in your sleep, which is convenient because subliminal messaging plays it while you sleep anyway. You genuinely, truly, deeply believe that Super Earth represents humanity's best hope for survival in a hostile galaxy. The Terminids are an existential threat to human civilization. The automatons want to exterminate all organic life. Super Earth's military expansion across the galaxy isn't imperialism, it's defensive action. You believe this with every fiber of your being. Congratulations on 16 years of flawless indoctrination, champ. Then comes the day you've been waiting for, eligibility for the Helldiver program. Helldivers are Super Earth's elite orbital shock troops, the best of the best. Humanity's finest warriors dropping from the sky to deliver democracy directly to hostile alien worlds. The recruitment posters show heroic soldiers standing triumphantly over vanquished enemies, with slogans like "Service guarantees citizenship" and "Join the Helldivers, see the galaxy, save democracy." You volunteer immediately, because of course you do. You're a patriot. You want to make a difference. You want to defend humanity. Look at you, so eager to become cannon fodder. The recruiters are thrilled. They congratulate you on your civic virtue and explain the Helldiver program's innovative approach to military service. See, the mortality rate's catastrophically high. Super Earth's solution? They take a genetic sample, create a clone template, and store it in Ministry of Defense databanks. When you die, and you will die, they just print a new you with all your memories up to your last upload. It's like respawning, except you actually died, and this is a different person with your memories who thinks they're you. Don't think about it too hard. The Ministry of Truth's determined that thinking too hard leads to existential crises that hurt unit cohesion. I wouldn't want that. Training begins at the Helldiver Academy, where you start noticing some concerning details. Your instructors are very insistent that acceptable casualties are just part of the job. They show training videos of Helldivers calling in orbital strikes on their own positions. "That's teamwork," the instructor says cheerfully. Friendly fire isn't a bug, it's a feature. It builds character. One trainee asks why the solution to enemy contact is level a city block, and the instructor says, because it works, and marks something on a datapad. Better not ask too many questions, kid. You learn about stratagems, the lifeblood of Helldiver operations. These are support options you can call down from your orbiting destroyer. Supply drops, defensive turrets, airstrikes, and enough ordnance to crack a small moon. Nothing says we come in peace quite like a 500-kilogram bomb dropped from orbit. The training course teaches you the input codes by having you run them while being shot at by live ammunition. Miss a button, the airstrike lands on you instead of the enemy. Very educational. You also learn that calling for support has a cooldown period, which is military jargon for you need to wait because the ship's busy helping the 30 other Helldivers who are also dying down there. That makes sense. You're issued the finest armor Super Earth can mass produce, which stops approximately 1.5 bullets before falling apart. Lost equipment will be deducted from your pay. You don't ask what pay means when you're a consciousness being repeatedly cloned. The quartermaster marks something on a datapad. You're learning not to ask questions. Finally, you graduate. There's a ceremony. The commandment gives a speech about duty, sacrifice, and spreading democracy to the stars. You stand at attention, proud, ready, absolutely convinced you're about to become a hero. They ship you up to your destroyer, staffed by a crew who look at you like a tutorial NPC. You're immediately sent to your first deployment, a Terminid planet designated for liberation. Enjoy your first day at the office. The drop pod's cramped and smells like sweat and fear. Launch sequence initiates, your stomach drops as the pod screams through atmosphere in a ballistic arc that would kill you if integrity failed, which it sometimes does, but you don't think about that. You crash into the surface at terminal velocity. Retro thrusters firing at the last second, and the doors blow open. Welcome to liberation. The landscape's beautiful in a hostile alien way. Sprawling fungal forests, bioluminescent spires, and a sky the wrong colour. It'd be peaceful if not for the Terminids. The briefing called them an invasive species threatening human expansion, which is interesting phrasing when you think about it. But you don't think about it because a Terminid warrior, a 10-foot-tall insectoid horror with scything claws and too many legs, explodes out of the ground and charges your squad. Right, time to spread some democracy with bullets. Training kicks in. You open fire. Your squad mates open fire. Someone calls in an airstrike and yells, "Danger, close!" which is military code for, "This is probably going to kill us too." The Terminid goes down in a spray of Ica, and the airstrike levels a patch of forest the size of a football field. You're alive, you're shaking, you're pretty sure that was the single most terrifying thing you've ever experienced. Your squad leader marks the next objective and says, 15 more of those and we can extract. Oh good, 15 more. You're doing great, buddy. The mission continues. You fight across hostile terrain, completing objectives that sound noble in the briefing, but feel less noble when you're doing them. Destroy Terminid hatcheries, meaning burning alien eggs that haven't hatched yet. Eliminate infestation means killing everything that moves. Secure strategic resources means strip mining a planet while killing everything that objects to the strip mining. You're basically an interstellar exterminator with better marketing. Very heroic stuff. You complete the missions, you extract, you're covered in alien blood, your armor's shredded, and you're pretty sure one of the squad mates didn't make it to the dropship. The ship's crew congratulates you on a successful operation and tells you the next deployment's in 6 hours. Those aliens won't liberate themselves. Great. Over the next weeks, you get good at this. Better equipment, better tactics, better muscle memory. You learn which stratagems work best against which enemies. You learn to read terrain. You learn to predict when a charger's about to burst from underground and how to dodge a Bile Titan's acid spray. You accumulate confirmed kills in the thousands. The Ministry of Truth reports your operations as glorious victories for democracy. And you feel proud because you're making a difference. You're protecting humanity. You're a hero. You're delivering liberty one orbital bombardment at a time. Right? Then comes the deployment that changes things. You're sent to an automation world. The automatons are robot soldiers, remnants of something called the Cyborg Revolt, and they fight with tactics, strategies, coordinated defense. They have bases, infrastructure, communication networks. During one mission to destroy an automation fabricator, you find something that looks uncomfortably like a civilian area. There are structures that aren't military. Your squad leader says, "Destroy everything. Those are war factories." but they look like housing blocks, and you're pretty sure you just saw something that might have been a school. You complete the mission because that's what you do, but afterward you start asking questions. What was the Cyborg Revolt? Why did the cyborgs revolt? The Ministry of Truth's official history says they were criminals who rejected Super-Earth's benevolent rule and tried to destroy humanity. But the more worlds you liberate, the more you notice that liberation looks a lot like invasion, and spreading democracy looks a lot like resource extraction. You mention this to another Helldiver, someone who's been doing this longer than you, and they get very quiet and say, "Don't think about it. Just do your job." Great advice. But you can't stop thinking about it. Every deployment adds more evidence. The Terminids weren't expanding toward human space. Humans expanded into their space. The automatons aren't trying to exterminate humanity. They're trying to not be exterminated. Super-Earth isn't defending itself. It's conquering the galaxy and calling it self-defense. You're not a hero spreading democracy. You're a stormtrooper for a fascist empire that uses managed democracy as a fig leaf for authoritarian expansionism. Whoops. This revelation should horrify you. But here's where the insidious brilliance of Super-Earth's system reveals itself. You can't refuse. Not because they'll shoot you, though they probably would, but because you've been so thoroughly conditioned that questioning orders feels wrong on a fundamental level. You've had 16 years of education teaching you that Super-Earth's always right. You've taken loyalty oaths. You've been psychologically conditioned through training. Most importantly, you've killed so many aliens that admitting this might be wrong means admitting you're a war criminal. And that's a bit too much to process before breakfast. So, you keep deploying. You keep fighting. You keep calling in orbital strikes on alien populations. You tell yourself the Terminids are just bugs. They don't think or feel. You tell yourself the automatons are just machines. They're not alive. You tell yourself you're protecting humanity even though humanity seems to be the one doing most of the attacking. The cognitive dissonance tears at you, but you push it down because the alternative's confronting that you've been complicit in genocide. And that's a bit too much self-reflection for someone who's scheduled to commit more war crimes in 6 hours. Just focus on the mission. Your deployments blur together. Terminid worlds, automaton worlds, they all look the same after a while. Targets to be eliminated, objectives to be completed, democracy to be delivered via high-explosive ordnance. You die sometimes, a lot actually. Friendly fire, enemy fire, badly timed stratagems, drop pods that land on your head because someone missed the beacon. Each time, you wake up in a new clone body, your consciousness uploaded from your last backup, and you don't remember dying. You just remember suddenly being back on the ship with a timestamp gap in your memory. Don't think about it. The repetition grinds away at whatever you were before. The patriotic volunteer who wanted to defend humanity becomes something else. A weapon, a tool, a consciousness piloting meat puppets in an endless cycle of violence. You can't question anymore. The conditioning's too deep. The alternative's too horrible. So you embrace it. You become the perfect Helldiver. Efficient, lethal, unquestioning. You do your job. What character development? Years pass, or maybe it's months, or maybe it's centuries. Clone bodies don't age, and your memory uploads create a seamless continuity that makes time feel weird. You've been killed 437 times, according to your service record. You've completed 2,847 operations. Your confirmed kill count stopped being a number and started being an abstraction. The Ministry of Truth features you in recruitment propaganda as an example of the perfect soldier. You smile for the cameras and say patriotic things about democracy and liberty. And somewhere deep down, underneath all the conditioning and trauma and repetition, a tiny part of you screams. But that part's getting quieter. One day you're deployed to a Terminid hive world for the 10,000th time. Or maybe it's the first time. You honestly can't remember anymore. You complete the objectives, you call in the orbital strike. You watch the landscape burn. Standing in the aftermath, covered in ichor and spent shell casings, you have a moment of perfect clarity. This will never end. Super-Earth will keep expanding. The Helldivers will keep deploying. You will keep dying and being reborn and killing and dying. There's no victory condition. There's no final mission. There's only war forever until the clone banks run dry or the galaxy runs out of aliens to liberate. Nice. But you don't have time to process that because your squad leader's already marking the next objective and the ship's already prepping your next stratagem delivery, and somewhere in orbit, another Helldiver just died and woke up as a fresh clone, wondering why there's a gap in their memory. This is what you are now. This is what you'll always be. A consciousness trapped in an eternal cycle of violence, fighting a forever war on an authoritarian state that calls itself a democracy, spreading liberation at gunpoint to aliens who never asked to be liberated. Could be worse, right? So, here we are, Super Earth's proudest statistic, dying for democracy one clone at a time. At least the orbital strikes are really impressive, and the Ministry of Truth says you're winning, which is basically the same as actually winning if you don't think about it too hard. And you won't think about it too hard. You can't anymore. That part of you got uploaded over too many times, compressed, optimized, and eventually deleted to save storage space. Very efficient. Welcome to the Helldivers, kid. Congratulations on your service. Glory to Super Earth.